Picture a 9-year-old boy who gets winded tying his shoes. His pediatrician has warned blood pressure is up, pre-diabetic markers are rising, and he's snoring from sleep apnea. There's a new plan written on the fridge: diet, exercise, a bedtime, and yet month after month this child is still gaining weight. If a parent refused to give that same child his insulin, we'd call it neglect. But when a parent ignores a pediatric plan while their child slides into severe obesity, we say nothing. Today I'm going to share with you how these situations aren't so different, and how allowing a child to become severely obese is neglect and should be prosecuted as such. To do this, I'll define child neglect. I'll show the harm is severe and imminent, so that the parents are to blame, and then to piece it all together, I'll show how this meets the definition of neglect. Okay, so what is child neglect? Well, Florida statutes define neglect as a caregiver's failure to provide the care and services necessary to maintain child's physical and mental health. This includes medical care, and even a single omission can qualify. I ask you to keep this definition in mind as we continue the speech. Okay, so let's look at the harm caused by obesity. According to the CDC article, Consequences of Obesity, childhood obesity isn't just about tight jeans or getting teased at school. It's hypertension, type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, joint pain, anxiety, and depression, all in childhood. Keep in mind, we aren't talking about some 75-year-old who lived a long and fruitful life. We're talking about a child. Kids miss school, they stop playing sports, and overall they report a lower quality of life. And this isn't rare. As outlined in the article, Overweight and Obesity Statistics by the NIH, National Institute of Health, it's estimated that over 4 million kids in the US alone suffer from severe obesity. To put this in perspective, that is greater than the population of Los Angeles. But it gets darker. A long-term Swedish study published in PLOS Medicine found that children who who are obese in childhood face a 3 times higher risk of dying of premature death in early adulthood. And in a quarter of these deaths, they found that obesity was listed as a contributing factor. That is a life and death. This is life and death harm, not a distant maybe. Possibly the saddest part of all this, though, is that the harm is preventable. Look, we can argue about teen vaping. Kids find these at school, at parties, through friends. Obesity doesn't work like that. Children aren't secretly door-dashing themselves into disease. Parents buy the groceries, parents set the portions, the bedtimes, the weekend routines, and ultimately decide whether to follow the doctor's plan or not. And people who say, oh, what about genetics? Genetics aren't destiny. Genetics can load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. Pediatric authorities, for example, the Cleveland Clinic, in their article Childhood Obesity, say it plainly: daily environment drives outcomes. Diet, activity, sleep, and consistent medical follow-through, that's the household, that's the parent. So does this satisfy Florida's neglect law? Well, let's see. Is there some necessary care that the child needs? Yes. I've shown you the data. Severe obesity causes immediate complications and can even lead to premature death. So when a pediatrician diagnoses a child with severe obesity and prescribes a treatment plan, it is necessary care that the parent must provide. Alright, so is the parent failing to provide this necessary care? Well, yes. As we've already discussed, the parent is the lever. They dictate routine, they dictate food, they dictate if they go to follow-ups, and really, they control the overall environment. So when a parent has heard the warnings and knows the risk, but still just watches their child become bigger and bigger, they are failing to provide the care necessary to maintain their child's physical and mental health, which is textbook child neglect. And look, I'm not trying to be unreasonable here, but this is the same standard we use for an inhaler or insulin. When a pediatrician, when a pediatric plan is necessary and a parent fails to follow it, that is child neglect. But isn't this cruel? Isn't life just complicated? No. Ignoring a kid's mounting health crisis to avoid uncomfortable conversations, that's genuine cruelty. Complicated? Sure. Poverty and stress make good choices harder. But harder is not impossible, and harder is never an excuse to ignore medical care. Look, in conclusion, severe obesity inflicts real and present danger. Parents control the environment, and refusing a pediatric plan meets the definition of child neglect. So I urge you to act this week. Email the state attorney's office, email Florida DCF, demand that a clear disregard of a severe obesity treatment plan can and will be followed as with a neglect charge. Let's protect the child, not the parents' excuses.